Queensland Health, but those controversial bikie laws still keep popping up on the daily news agenda. And today the Premier decided to link the bikie laws to cancer treatment. The reaction was swift, and about 20 minutes ago the Premier's office put out a statement. The Premier says that he's appalled that the opposition is trying to make a cheap political point, he says, of this affair, and that, like many Queensland families, the Newman family has been directly affected by cancer. The Premier says that he resents any claim he's been insensitive. The Premier and Health Minister's regional hospital blitz landed in Bundaberg this morning.
This hospital is now one of the leaders. It is doing so very, very well.
This hospital has some extraordinary, enthusiastic, dedicated and energetic staff that have done some wonderful work.
But when questioned about phasing out the controversial bikie laws, Campbell Newman likened the legislative process to cancer treatment.
We use chemotherapy and radiation therapy to rid a patient's body of a cancer, but once the cancer is eliminated from the body, we don't keep taking chemotherapy drugs.
Condemnation was swift, with demands for an apology.
It is totally inappropriate, it is silly and it is childish and not becoming of a Premier of this state.
The comments today by the Premier show poor taste and poor judgment. He is obviously a man under pressure.
The Queensland leader of the Palmer United Party is also a doctor whose wife battled cancer, and he is outraged.
For a lot of people who are literally going through, very serious treatments and very, very stressful, they would see this as literally cheapening and also belittling what they're doing.
Later in Maryborough, Premier Newman was quizzed about his earlier remarks.
Criminal gangs are a cancer in our community, and I think it's really important that we remove the cancer.
One local had his own message on the bikie laws for Mr Newman during a street meet and greet. The regional tour wrapping up. Now, Georgie, the Premier is keen to make this the year that Queenslanders know why the government's had to make some tough decisions since it's been in power. But just 3 days back to work and it's got off to a shaky start.
Not good. Thank you, Kathy Border at State Parliament. Now let's go to Jonathan Lee at Wacol, where another of the Yandina Five is about to walk free. Jono?
Yeah, that's right, Georgie. On December 10 last year, Paul Lansdowne was arrested on the Sunshine Coast for allegedly associating with members of the Rebels Motorcycle Club at the Yandina pub. Now, for the past 36 days, he spent behind bars. Most of that has actually been in solitary confinement. This afternoon, this evening, he should walk free here from the Arthur Gorrie Correctional Centre. Now, this all began last Thursday when his bail application began in the Supreme Court. It's taken 6 days, but at 2:15 this afternoon, he was finally told that he would be free on bail. Now, there were no family members in court, just one friend. There were no cheers, but outside, that friend told us she was very relieved he would be coming home.
Traumatising is about the only word. A lot of people are hurting, but yeah, we're holding faith in the justice system.
Now, Georgie, much of the debate over the past few days has hung on a peculiar legal argument. Now, the judge said there was evidence that Paul had actually been a member of an outlaw club. Now, his defence argued that he couldn't resign from that club because to do so would be to say that he'd actually been a member of the club, and that possibly could hurt his case come March. Now, 4 of the 5 men have now actually been released. Just 1 remains behind bars. Their case will be heard in late March. Georgie.
Thanks for the update, Jonathan Lee, live there at Wacol. As this year's G20 summit draws nearer, organisers have begun talking directly to thousands of inner-city residents who will be impacted by the security lockdown. Jessie Grayson reports.
2 years of planning for just 2 days in November, when Brisbane CBD becomes a city of 2 zones, restricted and declared. The convention centre and dignitary hotels are the high-security restricted zones.
There will be a few people that live in close vicinity of restricted areas who, when we're moving leaders around in motorcades, we want them to drive out of their driveway onto the roads we're using the motorcades.
Fencing in the restricted zones will be temporary. In the declared zone, people can come and go as they please, including peaceful protesters. A massive force of 6,500 police will be highly visible, with extra powers to remove troublemakers. But in the declared zone like South Bank, as long as Vladimir Putin and Barack Obama don't choose to go for a riverside stroll, locals won't notice much of a difference at all. Just another November weekend in Brisbane. Unlike the debacle of Toronto nearly 4 years ago, police here are using a different strategy and a peacekeeping philosophy.
We know what the problems were and why they were caused. It's a totally different setup, the way it was organised over there to the way we're doing it here.
The Brisbane City Council's CitySafe camera network is the game changer Canadian officials didn't have. The federal government is borrowing it for no cost. It'll help monitor any potential trouble before it escalates.
We're providing a cooperation around it, but you know, for Brisbane City Council, the big opportunity is to get the name Brisbane as Australia's new world city out there.
And just 10 months away. Jesse Grayson, 10 Eyewitness News.